A few things to know before you fly WestJet to Nashville. You don't need cowboy boots to have a great time in Nashville. You don't need a cowboy hat either. You don't even need to be a country music fan. To have a great time in Nashville, you just need to go to Nashville. WestJet can certainly help with that, with great low WestJet fares nonstop from Calgary to Nashville. Visit WestJet.com or call your travel agent.
Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, everyone. This is Laurie Smith. This is One Child Abuse Survivor to Another Restoration. Glad to be here. Good morning. It is Monday morning, May the 22nd, 2017. I'm just putting the chat room open right now, and you're welcome to sit in there if you like. This is just a morning look at sort of a morning reflection for me on my healing journey as a survivor of child abuse. And hopefully, others are getting something out of this too. If it's anything, hopefully it's just a reminder, for others who have been abused, to not give up and to keep looking for that help wherever you can find it, whatever works for you, because we're all different and we all need different things. We've all been through different things. So, whatever it is that you reach out, get some help. And for me, it's just a maintenance piece that I find helpful, just to make sure that I do work on my healing journey instead of put it off. I tend to get really busy and then let things go, and then have to pick it back up, 6 months later, a year later, without having worked on my healing journey. So this is sort of a guarantee that I'll actually do some work in my healing journey. So hopefully, it's helping other people. So thanks for being here. I really appreciate it. Thanks for everybody who's been tuning into my shows and taking the time to listen. I do a lot of different shows, and it's hard to keep up with what I'm doing. So I appreciate everybody who's taken the time to listen, because I know your time is valuable, and I do appreciate it. We'll get right into this. We finished up that acronym from Cheryl from HAVOCA, HAVOCA. That's Help for Adult Victims of Child Abuse, HAVOCA.org. And we're still looking at some material from there, looking at the feelings section under the Survivor tab. But we're done with that little acronym. So this morning we'll just take a look and see how we're doing. How am I feeling this morning? This is things that I can ask myself, when I wake up in the morning. How am I feeling? What do I need to work on? And as far as my emotions go, as far as my self-care goes, and as far as taking some time for myself during the day, at some point to make sure that I do some breathing work or whatever it is that I need to do, meditation. So, this is in the morning. I can kind of get a sort of a feel for how I'm doing, how I'm starting my day out, And if I think it's nice it's a little check, right? And if you're a survivor of abuse, you want to do a safety check right now, just to make sure you're safe enough to be listening to this show, so that you're not triggered and it doesn't send you backward in your healing journey. You really don't want that. Nobody does. So make sure that you're safe enough to be listening. And if you're not sure where to get that information, HAVOCA's got the information about it on their website. But I think one of the best, the best sites for that is ASCA, Adult Survivors of Child Abuse, Survivor to Thriver Manual, because that manual is free online. You can just go to their website, ASCA, Adult Survivors of Child Abuse, a Morris Center program. Just go to their website and check out their Survivor to Thriver Manual. It's got a safety first checklist, safety first chapter, and it's 60 pages long. It's 60 plus pages long. It's huge, but I read it a few times, and it's really worth reading. It's worth looking at just to make sure that you are safe enough. If you're not sure if you're safe enough to be listening to this or anything like this about abuse and about somebody else's story or just about anything to do with abuse, you want to make sure you're safe enough. If you're not sure, don't listen to the show. Just turn it off. You won't be hurting my feelings at all. And get that information and learn how to know and recognize whether or not you are safe enough to be listening, right? And I know I'm safe enough. I'm not going to hurt myself or hurt anybody else or go backward in my healing journey. So that's how I gauge it. If I think that, if I'm just not coping well and not feeling, able to handle things and just feeling like things are spiraling out of control, then I don't listen to stuff like this, and I tend to focus on other things and get help, So, you wouldn't be hurting my feelings if you turn off the show. So make sure you're safe enough to be listening, and everybody else listen at your own discretion. Topics of abuse are very disturbing. and can make people uncomfortable. So make sure you listen at your own discretion, right? So we're going to look at this morning, Havoka, we're looking at feelings. This is under the Information for Survivors tab, and we're just moving through their feelings section. This next section coming up here says coming to terms with your feelings. You can go back and listen to Friday's show if you want to, and catch where we left off there. This morning says coming to terms with your feelings. I'm just reading right from their information here, and I just woke up a little bit ago, so bear with me here. It's a holiday for me. And but I wanted to get up anyway. It's a holiday in Canada, Victoria Day. But I wanted to get up and do this show because it's important to me to keep doing this. And as well, I have a lot of things to do today, so it's not really a lazy day for me. So I'm glad to be here. But I just woke up, so you'll have to bear with me. And coming to terms with your feelings. Intense emotion can be overwhelming for all of us. And if you're just opening up to an emotion, it can feel very raw. So they said, no matter how experienced you are with your emotions, we all need help sometimes to know how to deal with them. Learning to recognize and stay with our feelings is a valuable experience. We can learn that just because we feel something, we don't have to act on it. Or that we can be angry and choose how to respond rather than let the anger control us. And the more we know how we feel and ways to feel, release, be with, or let go of our feelings, the better we feel about ourselves. And then they say, but how do I know what I'm feeling? And they said, if you don't know how you feel or how to get in touch with your feelings, identify how you feel. And they actually give a little guide on how people can get in touch with their feelings. I know it's a big deal for people who have been abused, especially people who suffer from like PTSD or any of these types of things. Like trauma, which a lot of abuse survivors would have experienced a lot of trauma. So, I have never been diagnosed with PTSD, but I have a lot of the same symptoms. Not all of them, just some of them. Just done these little PTSD tests and stuff, just to see if I even have anything remotely close to PTSD. And I've got some of them, not all of them, but it's difficult, right? I know over the years I never handled anything really all that well, and never dealt with things properly, and wasn't shown how to do that in my, ever as a child. So then as an adult, I've had to learn how to do this stuff, and I've actually got, I've got everything pretty well under control now compared to where I was before. Even as a young, in my 20s, mid-20s, late 20s, and 30s, 40s, right in there, But this last 10 years since I've been on my healing journey, I've really learned a lot about sitting with my feelings, learning how to release those feelings, whatever they are. And it's valuable. It's very, very valuable. I know journaling helped me out a lot. And writing, things like this. Writing poetry, inner child poetry, where I allow my inner child to speak. And that's my wounded self from so long ago. So many of my wounded selves, all these little wounded parts of myself that are stuck in the trauma. It's been very, very helpful. And also just to learn how to sit with the pain, to sit with those memories, to sit with those feelings, right? And it's difficult. There's been times where I didn't manage that so successfully. And at the age of 42, had a real problem with it. So that's kind of why I began my healing journey. It took me to the edge of the pit of despair. But now I have a much better, I guess I don't want to say, I'm just able to handle things a lot better. And I think it's just because I've been on my healing journey. So, but it's been a long road. Like this has been 10 years, actually 10 years today, May 22nd, 2007. That's when I started my healing journey. So it's the 10-year anniversary for me. And, I had no idea how long it was. I knew this would be like a lifetime thing for me because it was a lifetime of damage for me. So, we can't, some of these things it takes time to do this stuff. It takes time. It took me time to learn how to actually deal with these feelings and these emotions, right? So I like what they have to say here. It's a very serious issue, and I know for a lot of people, it's it's hard to deal with. So a lot of times we stuff our feelings. That's what I was doing my whole life. And so I've gotten good at now not stuffing my feelings and actually letting them sort of on my own time, in my own space, letting my feelings come to the surface so that I can actually see what they are and deal with them instead of, and feel them and actually acknowledge them instead of stuffing them, right? But I would say if you're not used to doing that and you haven't done a whole lot of work in that and you're just starting your healing journey, be very careful about doing things like that and get some help. I have I have a huge support system that's not where I live in my city, but online. It's like an online support system. But these people are a huge part of my life, and these are my friends. And, you know, if I was incredibly wealthy or something, I could go around and visit them all. These are really awesome people that are in my life that I know if I'm having trouble, you know, that they're there for me. But it didn't happen overnight. And these people, you know, have just, you know, graciously been available for me, you know, for many years, so that if I'm down or if I just need to talk or whatever, they're there for me. But that doesn't always happen, so you need to make sure that you don't suffer on your own and don't struggle on your own. Get some help, whether it's anonymous help. I really like anonymous help because those people, they don't know you, you don't know them, but yet everybody's there to try to help each other up. Anonymous websites like Anonymous Chat, like Anonymous Survivors groups really, really helped me out. So I don't know, that was just one thing that did help me out. But whatever way you do want to, you know, whatever way you like to feel that would be beneficial to you, as far as, you know, whether it's therapist or counselor or group counseling or, you know, whatever, just make sure you get some help, right? Don't suffer through this stuff. And I wouldn't even attempt this stuff unless you're safe enough to do it. For instance, they're going to identify a whole bunch of stuff on how, well, they're going to give us methods to actually learn how to identify with what we're feeling, with how we feel. So they say, sit quietly for a moment. You might want to close your eyes and then wait and see what you notice from inside. So this is if we're trying to get in touch with feelings, and this is what I'm doing right now, because I'm working on the CSA, Child Sexual Abuse. I'm working on a workbook, and it's Allender's workbook. It's called The Wounded Heart, and I'll give you the full title. I think it's Dr. Dan B. Allender, and Dr. Dan B. Allender, and it's called The Wounded Heart: Hope for Adult Victims of Childhood Sexual Abuse, and it's a workbook and a book together, two separate books. You have to buy them, but I bought them, and I'm very glad that I did, because it's helping me work through the CSA child sexual abuse issue that I've got going on, which is really horrific. And the feelings that I'm feeling, I'm actually getting in touch with some things that I didn't know were there, and some feelings, some issues, and it's quite interesting how this workbook is helping me to do that. But you want to be careful when you're doing this stuff to make sure that you're safe enough, right, like I'm saying. So they say here, sit quietly for a moment. You might want to close your eyes and then wait and see what you notice from inside. What are we feeling, right? If anything. Sometimes we might not be feeling anything, but this is how we can get in touch with whether or not we are feeling anything. Notice how different areas of your body feels. This is a lot of how the inner child, going inside and doing my inner child healing work. That's sort of how it starts out. It's just the beginning of a meditation. It says focus on the areas of tension, breathe, see if anything comes to your awareness. You don't have to think about it. So, and then they say notice whether any thoughts, images, feelings, memories, sounds come to you. And they said if nothing comes, that's okay. You may still want to continue. And ask yourself how you're feeling and be aware of what comes up. They said here, you don't have to figure anything out, just be aware. And they said if nothing comes up to you, that's okay. Sometimes that happens. You may still want to try again another time. And so as far as acknowledging our feelings, they say here, if you know how you feel, let yourself know that this is how you're feeling right now, and that's okay. I do this quite often because I wasn't allowed to feel anything as a child. So I acknowledge my feelings. So whatever I'm feeling, if it's unacceptable and, and it's maybe me, kind of that self-talk, negative, run myself down or my own critical parent voice and, something like that going on, I still acknowledge the feelings, and then I go through and do the work on whether or not that's actually true or not. If it's not, then I acknowledge to myself that none of those things are true. And what's the truth? this just allows me to actually get in touch with what I'm feeling. So acknowledging the feelings. If you know how you feel, let yourself know that this is how you're feeling, right? And it's okay. You don't have to know where it's coming from. They said you don't even have to know what to name it. You may simply know that you have a lot of pain in your chest, right, or whatever the issue is, right? For me, I have a lot of difficulty breathing. I don't breathe properly. And a friend of mine who works with me, who used to be a psychotherapist, a practicing like psychotherapist, she said that I don't breathe. She says you need to breathe, and doing some breathing work would probably help you out. Right? And so that's just the trauma, right? That's from being abused horrifically in every way. So I'm still working on why, the issues of what's the issue behind that, and I haven't really come to any conclusions, but I'm working on it. So you don't even have to know what to name it. So simply just know that whatever the issue is, that we've got it, right? Let's say we're just tense. We might just be tense. Or let's say I might be feeling unhappy, or I might be feeling kind of sick, which I quite often do. And I'll just acknowledge it, and then breathe through. Breathe through it and let your feelings just be there. You don't have to do anything with them. Just accept that this is how you feel. And then they said, but where do these feelings come from? They just seem to come out of the blue. So they said, if you want to understand why you feel a certain way, identify the source of your feelings. They said here, knowing that you are not being silly or crazy for feeling how you feel. Your feelings are there for a good reason. They said, turn inward and ask yourself, what are these feelings connected to? And I mean, this is kind of what I do with my inner child healing work. By turning inward, that's looking inside. I just call it looking inside. But they're saying turn inward and ask yourself, what are these feelings connected to? And wait and see what you notice. You might just know, or you might remember something, see an image, hear a sound, notice tension in a particular area of your body. They said try not to analyze, interpret, or judge what comes to you. Be open to what you notice. They said go deeper, and we may think that we already know why we're feeling a certain way, but sometimes there's more to it than we think. Being patient and receptive helps us to go deeper. They said if nothing comes to you, that's okay too. It helps to just let yourself feel. And what do I do with these feelings? So once we've got a hold of these feelings, what do I do with them? Right? Express or release your feelings. They said even if you don't know why you're feeling this way, you can still express yourself in the privacy of your own home. Focus on how you feel. Open your mouth and let a sound come out from that feeling. Move with the feeling. You can dance. Some people are very, they're like they need to actually move. So some people like to dance, stomp around. They said kick, hit something, not a person. They said, well, of course not. I want to be an abuser just like our abusers were. Forget that. So you don't want to hurt somebody or yourself. You want to just, if I would say punch a pillow if you have to, kick something. Just don't hurt yourself or anybody else around you. Scream if you, they said if you're worried about the sound, you can scream into a pillow. Cry if you feel like crying. Give yourself permission to do this. Write or draw from this feeling place. Don't censor yourself. Let the feeling do the writing or drawing. Say out loud what you need to say to someone, and tell someone supportive how you're feeling. So this is their little section on coming to terms with your feelings, and I think this is sort of what I've been doing, and it's taken me a long time to work through a lot of things, and it's not something that happens overnight. I can't do the work on it all the time, so I have to kind of do when I notice something's going on inside, like if all of a sudden there's nothing going on in my external world that should be causing me to feel a certain way, but something's really bothering me. I can tell it's from the abuse that I suffered as a child. I'll go in and do some inner child healing work. And that's when I generally make progress. If I try to force it, it doesn't necessarily do me all that much. It's good to go in and do a check. But if I try to force these feelings or force these things, it doesn't help because it's not ready to come up, I don't think, for whatever reason, or I can't focus on it or whatever. So if I feel like there's something going on, I'll go in and do a check inside with my inner children. And which I do because I used a program called Your Envisioned Mind. It used to be called Forget Talking Therapy, but now it's called Your Envisioned Mind, and it's a program out of Australia. And that program really helped me out a lot. It really did. It made a huge, huge difference. And Beverly Searle is the creator, the founder, and she's a survivor herself, and she's developed this program, and it's amazing. It is just amazing what it did for me. So hopefully, I know that other people may not feel like they need it or get anything out of it, but it certainly helped me out. So I go in and I do this work with my inner children, and the issue is that, I wasn't safe as a child, and so, I didn't grow up with the safety of two parents who were safe people to be around, and my siblings were not safe to be around, unfortunately. So there was no safety. So I grew up, if I guess you want to call it, very, very nervous, uptight, people pleaser. I didn't want to get beat, right? So I tried my best to be a good girl, and then I was still beaten for it. So then I became the bad girl, and then I tried really trying to gain my mother's love, right? And so these inner children of mine, these wounded inner children, where the wounding and the trauma took place, from all of it, from the physical abuse, the verbal abuse, emotional, psychological abuse, the sexual abuse, they're still there. And I had to go and save them and rescue them. That's that part of that program in Your Envisioned Mind. Because it works with the limbic system, with pictures, because those traumatic events, the trauma sits in the limbic system. There's no words for it. It's pictures. So I had to go in and visualize myself saving me, my little selves, from these horrific traumatic events and getting them to a safe place, which is what I've done. It is amazing, really, because now I feel safe inside, which is really interesting how that works. I mean, my external world is it's what it is because I'm living a life that's decent. I'm not being abused now as an adult. I do try to take care of myself. I don't do the best job in that, but these things are huge. This inner turmoil that I used to have, which was causing me a lot of rage and a lot of problems, depression, rage. I would go from rage to depression, and then from depression to rage, and then from that to despondency and not feeling anything at all for a long time, shutting my feelings down, too hard to deal with. So now I'm to the point now where I'm doing these sort of things here, like they've described here, and journaling, writing, allowing my inner self to speak out, my wounded inner self to how it's whether a person thinks they've got inner children or whether they just recognize their wounded self, just allowing ourselves to be heard. In whatever manner that, like they said, dance, jump around. If you need to scream into a pillow. Do whatever, as long as you don't hurt yourself or hurt somebody else. Allow ourselves to be, to exist. Instead of shutting myself out, my wounded self out, and then trying to live with this double life, this double standard life, which is absolutely horrific. So I like what they have to say here. And I think this is just one way to go about it. I have other information that I use, actually, that's a little different, but it's because it's from that Your Envisioned Mind program, and that really works really well for me. But whatever it is, I would say, make sure that you get some help with this stuff and don't suffer on your own. I'm glad that I did reach out because, to the age of 42, I had never reached out to anybody, and now, 10 years later, exactly today, I'm really thankful that I did reach out and wished I would have reached out a lot sooner, and not suffered so much on my own, right? So positive reinforcement, what are we doing? We'll pick up the rest of that on Friday. So positive reinforcement, what are we doing right in our daily walk? Looking at positives instead of negatives. Well, it's too easy to be too hard on ourselves, And I did a little bit of that this week because I didn't get some things done that I needed to get done last weekend and some things from last week. So I was a little bit hard on myself, and I thought, no, I just gotta instead of being hard on myself, being critical and I need to cut myself some slack first of all, but I also need to get these things done. They're very important, right? Can't just let them slide, and I'm the only one that can do them. My husband can't do them. He's terminally ill, and he can't deal with that stuff, so I have to do it. And it's like, okay, so I didn't get them done, but that doesn't mean that's the end of the world. See, before the age of 42, before I started my healing journey, that would have sent me spiraling off into every kind of problem you can think of, because I wasn't able to handle anything properly at that point. Now it's better, Am I 100%? No, I don't know if I'll ever be 100%. You know what I mean? But at least I'm able to cope without wanting to self-injure or wanting to do whatever, just not take care of myself or whatever these issues, that I have, you know what I mean? So I made it through actually pretty good through this week since I didn't get the things done that I was supposed to get done. I actually started to lighten up on myself a little bit and say, look, it'll get done. It'll get done. I just need to make a list and kind of stick to it because, I have a tendency to put things off. And so it's harsh, right? But instead of just looking at the negatives, I didn't get this done and I'm just, calling myself names or whatever, I'm an idiot, I'm a loser or whatever whatever I'm thinking about myself, just because I didn't get something done. That's ridiculous. But that's where my mind goes because that's how I was treated as a child. And even by my siblings, right? Not just my parents and my abuser brother. I mean, all of my siblings, we were all abused. We were all really screwed up. And so, these things roll around in my head, right? So what can I do, looking at the positives? Well, first of all, I did other things that were really good, I got up in the morning, I had breakfast, I had a shower, I did some inner child healing work, and I took really good care of my husband, which is great, looked after my cat. I did some relaxing and taking it easy, which is important too. Can't be running around all the time. And what else did I do? Interacted with people online, some of my good friends. And I listened to some music. I kind of did a self-care thing instead of getting some things done that I was supposed to get done. But that's okay because I'm looking after myself, and that's very important too. And I don't have to make an excuse for that. You know what I mean? We all need to take care of ourselves. And so, yeah, if I have to put some things off, well, I did, So there you go. So I think it's important to look at some positives instead of just negatives all the time. Havoka has some getting started with affirmations. We'll look at these. Well, the next one up here that we were looking at from previously, way back, was the next one's up. I am honest with myself and with everyone else. And I mean, as far as we know, a person, I could walk around saying that all day. I'm honest with myself and with everyone else. But if we're not honest with ourselves and everybody else, then it's not true. But as honest as we can be, as honest as we know how to be. I suppose that's the best thing, right? I'm as honest as I possibly can be with myself and with everyone else. Doing the best that I can, right? So I like that. I think that's good. I try to be honest with myself and everybody else. And if this is the issue. I want people, I realized before, if I wanted to reach out and get help, if I wanted to reach out, I needed to, I wanted people to trust me. So then I realized I had to trust other people too. I want people to give me the benefit of the doubt. So, I have to give them the benefit of the doubt. I want people to be honest with me. I need to be honest with them. And I need to be honest with myself, right? So way back in 2009, when I started really working on my healing journey, I started it in 2007, but 2009 is when I did the bulk of it. I really started journaling. And I said, well, I can't write anything that's false in these blogs that I'm doing that turned into my books, right? Because it's that would be wrong. It has to be 100% complete, honest information that I'm actually giving out here. And so that was important for me, and also for others. So, am I honest with myself? Absolutely. Because I was telling on myself as well, right? But that's the only way that a person can heal, is to learn, what did I do and what have I done in my life that, because of the abuse, or just my own actions that have caused me a lot of difficulties, and what have I done, in handling things. The only way I could actually heal was to get to the root and learn what I had been doing with all of these really bad coping mechanisms that I had picked up along the way. Drug abuse, overeating, smoking, just numbing myself with anything and everything that I could possibly get a hold of through my adult life. So I had to be honest with myself, right? And then I thought, well, I may as well be honest with everybody else too. And so it's important because, in order to know who I am, I need to be honest with myself. But therein, I guess, lies the healing journey, is getting in touch with this stuff, right? So self-care, what can we do, take care of ourselves today? Well, we could have a shower, we could take a walk, we could listen to music, we could do mindfulness meditation. This is all coming from irvingstudios.com. That's Michael C. Irving. He's a psychotherapist, and he's a survivor, and he's got some great coping lists and daily activities and whatnot that survivors can do. Eat regularly, get lots of sleep, journal, listen to music, whatever you want to do. Make your own list, right? That's what I'm going to do. And make your own list of daily, weekly activities that I need to do to take care of myself, and try to stick to them. And then if I miss one here and there, don't be too hard on myself. So don't be hard on yourself. Treat yourself well. Treat yourself kind. Be good to yourself. We have about, 10 seconds left here. But thanks, everybody, for being here. Be good to yourself. Be loving and kind to yourself. There's a lot of people out there that say, we shouldn't love ourselves. And it's like, yes, we should. Because how else am I going to love somebody else if I can't love myself? This is the issue. So be good and kind to yourself. And treat yourself well, treat yourself right, get the rest you need. Take care of yourself during the week here. That's what I'm going to do. I'll meet you back here on Friday. I wish you a wonderful week ahead. And until then, if you're struggling, you make a phone call. There's crisis lines out there with people like us sitting on them that actually do care about people. And you make a call. You do whatever you have to do, but you stay well. And we'll talk to you on Friday. Take care. Bye-bye.
A few things to know before you fly WestJet to Nashville. You don't need cowboy boots to have a great time in Nashville. You don't need a cowboy hat either. You don't even need to be a country music fan. To have a great time in Nashville, you just need to go to Nashville. WestJet can certainly help with that, with great low WestJet fares nonstop from Calgary to Nashville. Visit WestJet.com or call your travel agent.